ask you a couple questions?
Of course, yeah, sure.
Kevin.
I'm not the Secretary of State, but I have been updated on what's going on. There's been a lot of progress in the talks, and my understanding is that the minute the president lands, and you guys know the time better than me, about 4:30, that he's going to be presented with, the material progress, and then he's going to put everything on the table and make a decision about next steps.
Is there a possibility, do you think, that he's going to decide to delay?
I think it's possible that, the president has all the options on the table, but the talks have been very collegial, amicable, and, my briefing on them has been that there's been a lot of progress where our technical experts who have really taken a deep dive into what the Mexicans could do to help get out in front of the border problem, that the Mexicans have agreed to do a lot of those things. But whether they've done enough to satisfy the president, who knows this issue better than anybody, is something that we'll find out when he lands at 4:30.
I asked you why you were leaving. You got a number of questions about whether you're leaving because you have sensed there are some economic headwinds.
What do you say to those American workers that do have concerns that if the Mexican tariffs do end up hitting 20%, 25%, this will start affecting American jobs in the automobile industry and farmers?
Yeah, I think that everybody hopes that the border crisis, the president's top priority is resolving the border crisis. And I think a nice metric of how serious he is about, making progress on that while continuing on the path we were on before is that, we're still working hard on USMCA. And there's positive, I spoke with Ambassador Lighthizer yesterday, there's a lot of positive progress in talks with Democrats about USMCA.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I haven't looked at that specific study. It was at the Urban Tax Policy Center, I think, put that study out. I haven't looked at their math. I think a 5% Mexican tariff would not be noticeable in the aggregate statistics.
At what point do you feel like it would start?
I'd have to do some more math to tell you, but it would, at the beginning, it wouldn't be something that would be noticeable.
I think we were encouraged that Mexico came prepared to put solutions on the table. But on Wednesday, I think we felt that they were wholly insufficient. They were a step forward, but insufficient. As negotiations continued yesterday, we were more encouraged that they came forward with some of the things that we put on the table Wednesday to say they were open to that. But, Kristen, there's a long way to go still. That's the bottom line. And so the legal teams are talking today, and we'll see how that progresses. But it's clear that there's still a long way to go.
Stop these tariffs going
so there's a legal notification that goes forward today with the plan to implement tariffs on Monday. But I think that there is the ability, if negotiations continue to go well, that the president can turn that off at some point over the weekend. But there has a requirement that if they're going to affect Monday, it has to be noticed today. So you should anticipate that happening today.
So there's a plan to delay
Marc, you guys keep saying Mexico needs to do even more specific, especially given the major concession they've already given for changing or agreeing to change its asylum policy.
Well, I think that's the rub is that we have recommended safe third policies, as you've heard Secretary McElhinney testify to, that would say that if you're from a country south of Mexico and you step into Mexico, it would require that that's where your asylum proceedings have to take place as opposed to the United States because our asylum laws are so broken. And that's really, I think, a focus of where negotiations are today. No, I don't. I think that that's something that we put on the table. The Vice President, Secretary Pompeo, did on Wednesday again, and I think there was receptivity to that yesterday. But I think there's a long way to go in that particular piece.
If that isn't raised, is that enough?
I think that the decision will be for the president to make. Again, it's less about the process of negotiation. It's more about actually seeing what are the actions taken that will drop those numbers. 144,000 last month we're on pace this year for over 1 million apprehensions on our side of the border. The apprehensions on the other side of the border have been declining. So we need to see Mexico's actions.
Marc, these are major agreements. Why set an artificial deadline for these?